Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at some basic Linux commands and understand the Linux operating system. But before that, we need to do something important. So this is the Kali Linux installation. Click on this button and click on Snapshots. So first we are going to take a snapshot, and before that, what is a snapshot? Okay, so snapshot tells this virtual box to just save the machine state. So this is a fresh install. So if we delete any necessary file or do something that harms the system and the system is unable to boot, so we are able to revert back to the previous state. So they allow us to change the state of machine. So let's name this to fresh installation. So just give it a meaningful description. So if we by mistake delete an important file or do any harm to the system, we can always go to snapshots and click on restore. So this will revert any changes that we have made. And now we can start Kali Linux. And it is now prompting us for the username and password. If you remember from the last video, the default username and password are Kali. So this is the first screen with which we are greeted. Now most of the time we will be working in the terminal or the command prompt. So to open it, we can press Ctrl Alt T like this. We can also click on this icon over here, the terminal emulator. You can also click this button, this just like the start menu, and click on terminal emulator, or you can right click on any directory. This is the desktop, and click open terminal here. And there is a difference between opening it from here and from here, which we will get back to later. So this is the terminal. The font size is really small, and you can increase it by pressing Ctrl and plus. So the plus sign is on the equal to key. So for that we will need to press shift also. Okay. So the first command we are going to learn is the echo command. Now this will just write to the screen whatever we give it to write. So this works like the print command of most of the languages. So echo hello world, and this is done. Alternatively, you can also type this without the single quotes, but it is always recommended to use them. Now we have something important. We are going to be using flags. So what are flags? Flags are additional arguments or something with which you can tell a particular command to behave differently. These flags begin with a dash. The flags which contain only one character start with a dash and then the character, and some which have a full word begin with two dashes and then we have that word. Okay, so we will see this in action now. Now you can go back and forth in your timeline of the commands with the arrow keys. So the last command we ran was echo hello world. You can press the up arrow key to run that command again. Now we are going to put a flag dash n. What this will tell it to do is that echo always appends a new line to the output. So it tells the cursor to start from the next line. And new line in most languages and widely written as backslash n. So we are telling it did not print a new line after hello world. As you can see, it does not print a new line, does not send the cursor to the next line. You can also type dash n afterwards, but it will not work. The dash n has to be before this. So next command we have is the clear command. What this will do is just clear the screen. You can also press Ctrl Shift X and it will do the same thing. Now, before we move on, let us take a look at this prompt. So what does this say? The first Kali represents the username uh, like whom we are using the terminal as. The word after the @ sign tells us the host name. Then we have a semicolon. Everything between the semicolon and the dollar represents the current working directory, in which directory this terminal is. But what is this tilde sign? We will come back to it in just a moment. The dollar sign represents that it is ready to accept commands. So let's look at the current working directory. Print working directory. PWD will just print the current working directory. What is this? We are supposed to be in /home/Kali, but it is representing the tilde sign over here. We can also do echo tilde, and this also prints /home/Kali. So what is this special symbol? Now this symbol corresponds to a user's home directory. For better explanation, let's open the file manager. This works just like the Explorer of Windows. So it opens up in the user's home directory. Like if there is a user ABC, his home directory is /home/abc, where we have his desktop, documents, downloads, etc. and all data regarding him is stored. The topmost level directory is the slash directory in Linux. Like in Windows, we have C drive, then we have users, and then we have the username, then we have all desktop documents downloads. Similarly, we have the /home and then username. Now the top level directory is this. So this bin stands for binaries, this var stands for variable, this is the root directory. Now I highly recommend you go online and watch videos or read an article on what all these different directories are. I will not be explaining all of them today. So binaries or the bin folder contains executable files that can be executed. So every command that we run over here has an associated binary or executable file. Now there are two currently logged in or current users on this machine. We have the root user and we have the Kali user by default. The root user is also known as the super user. The root user can change any file, modify, delete any file. So this can even break the system. If we, for example, delete some very important files, then the system may not even boot. So that is why we should be very careful when using the root user. And we won't be able to view the root directory because we do not have permissions to view it. Only the root user has the permission to view this folder. So let's go back to our home folder. So the tilde sign corresponds to the currently logged in user's home folder. For root, it is /root. For every other user, if it has a home directory, it is generally in /home/the username. Okay, so that was pwd. Now let's look at the ls command. It just lists the files or folders in the current directory. Now there are some important flags with ls. We have -a, which outputs all the hidden files also. In Linux, every file which begins with a period or a dot is considered a hidden file and is not viewable. As you can see, File Explorer does not show any file and it can only be viewed with ls-a, or you can right click and there is option over here to view hidden files also. Then What are these special directories? We have a dot and we have dot dot. So these are some special directories. The dot refers to the current directory. So if I say dot slash desktop, it means the current working directory and inside the desktop. Then there is the double dot or the dot dot directory. It refers to the parent directory. So let's again print the current working directory. We have slash home slash kali. So the parent directory is slash home. So it refers the exit. So it refers to the parent directory like an exit. How you can go to the parent directory. To change directory, we have the cd command. So with cd, we can go to any directory we have the permission to access. So we can cd to desktop. And now uh, a very important feature of these terminals is that they support auto completion. For example, if I have to go to desktop, I can type D and press tab twice. So this will show all possible options I have for D, and then I can press E and tab. So it will change the current working directory to desktop. So we can print working directory. We are in slash home slash kali slash desktop. This is the same. The tilde sign refers the home directory, that is slash home slash kali, and then we are in desktop. To go to the parent directory, we have the double dot, and we are back in the parent directory. Now there is also we can also use the tilde sign with cd, which will take us back to the home directory, or if we do not type anything in cd, it will by default take us to the home directory. Now there is also one more command, ls-l, not a command but a flag. So ls-l lists all files like this. So it says that there are total 32 files over here, but I can see only about 7. So where are the rest of the files? I can do ls-a, ls-l, but why all these dashes? I can simply also type ls-al, ls-la. So all the flags which contain only one character can be written in this way. So many files are there, and that is why it was saying 32 files. So it says total 152 files. Okay, more have come. So the first column represents the permissions for the file. The second represents how many subdirectories it contains. I think I do not know about this number, but yes, I think it how many subdirectories it contains. Then we have the owner of the file or the directory. Then we have the user who last modified it, the size of the file or directory, and the time it was last modified or accessed. So what are these permissions? So the first column is either dash or D. The dash represents a file, the D represents a directory. For the rest of the three columns, we will have to first take a look at one more command, that is ID. So the ID command will tell us the user ID, the group ID, and groups. So first, what are groups? Uh, Groups are like user groups where you group certain users together so that these users can run some specific commands or which require certain privileges. The most common group is the sudo group. This allows us to run commands as the root user without knowing the password of the root user. We will get to the sudo group later after we look at the file permissions. So the first three columns after the uh, dash or D column are these three. So these can either be all dashes or we have first R, then W, and then X. And the same for the rest of these three and rest of these three. So the R represents read, W represents write, and X represents execute. So read, we can read these files, W, we can write these files, X means we can execute this file. For example, if it was a Python script, we would have the permission to execute it, and so only then we would be able to execute it. Now, the first three columns after this dash or D represent what file permissions we have, then what the file permissions the current user has, then the next three columns after these represents the group members, what group members have permission, what permissions the group members have, and for other people what all permissions we have. So for example, take any directory, only we have the rights to write in that directory, others can only read, and executable is required so that they can cd into that directory, and the root user can change any directory. Okay, so we are in the sudo group. Now sudo is a very important group. First let's clear the screen. There is a command called sudo, sudo. It allows us to run commands as the root user. So first we will do the who am I command. So it tells us you are logged in as Kali. But what if I do sudo who am I? So it will tell us some things. The first time we run sudo, it's going to tell us uh, some warnings, and then it will ask us for the password for Kali user. So it does not ask us for the root password for our password. So we are going to type in Kali, and it will not show up as you type. Press enter and it will say root. So that means with sudo we can run anything as root. And we should be very careful when running commands or unknown programs with root, so, because they can delete any file. Then there is a command called hostname, which gives this Kali after the @sign. We can also change the host name to something else we want, and so we can also change the username, and we can change the default password also. So passwd is the command with which we can change the password. It will ask us first for the current password, which is Kali. Then we can type in a new password, and I'm not using a very secure password. This is a very weak password, and it will tell us that the new password is too simple. So we can press Control C over here. And why is this not working? Okay, so Control C will just terminate the current program or command being run. So that was Control Shift X, which cleared the screen. Now we want to use that weak password, because we should never use weak passwords, by the way, but I want to use that weak password. So what I can say that sudo that I want to run this as root. Root can change anyone's password without even knowing their current password. Okay, so that is one more feature of the root or super user. So sudo password. So we say we want to change the password. Now password will by default change the current user's password, but sudo runs command as root. So sudo password will just change the password of the root user. But we want to change the password of Kali user, so we will specify we want to change the password of the Kali user. It will ask us for the new password. I am going to type the same weak password, and it will say password updated successfully. So we will type exit, which will close the terminal. We are going to log out, and we are going to log in again as the Kali user with the new password. And notice how it works this time. So we have successfully changed the password also. The next command we are going to use is the su command. This allows us to switch users. But now we only have two users uh, on this system, the Kali user and the root user. And by default, the root user does not have any password. So if I do su-root empty password, I will not be able to log in. Why? Because it is not allowing us to log in. It has no password and we are not allowed to log in. But There is one more command. Now bash. First, what is bash? Let's go to the binaries folder. So what is bash? Bash is like cmd.exe of Windows. So if you go to a terminal or any place and type cmd.exe, it will open up command prompt. Similarly, if you type uh, bash, it will open up the terminal. What happened? I typed bash and another terminal inside the current terminal opened up. So I typed exit to close that terminal and I still have the terminal running which issued the bash command. So bash is just like cmd.exe. So what if I type sudo bash? It will ask us for a current password. We are logged in as the root user in our terminal. So what happened? We told it to go run commands as root and run cmd.exe. So sudo bash is equivalent of running the cmd.exe as the administrator. So now we are root user. We can also do who am I, host name. Now the host name is the same, but the username has changed. And so has the current working directory. If I just type cd, it takes us to the home directory. And how about pwd slash root? So this tells us that the home directory of root is always slash root. Now we can exit and we are logged out of the root user. But why do we have to log in with the default username? Why don't we have another user? So to add user, we have the add user command. Now some commands bash will say the cmd.exe, but I will refer to it as bash. It is equivalent of cmd.exe. So bash says that this command is not found. So some commands are there which only the root user can run. And if you try to run them as any other user, you will not be, it will say the command is not found. So we say sudo add user and then username. I'll just type in my name. So it's going to do everything necessary and it's going to ask us for a password. You can leave that empty if you wish, and then it's going to say password updated and it's going to ask us for these informations. I'm just going to leave them empty. And is this information correct? Yes. And we are done. Then we had the su command. We have a dash and then the username. We want to switch the current user to Om. It is going to ask us for Ohm's password, not the sudo command asks us for a current password. The su command requires that you know the other user's password. So this was different and we are now logged in as Ohm. We can do who am I? We are Ohm and then we can exit out of this. Next we have the touch command. What it does is it creates empty files. So right now we have no file in the home directory. We are going to create an empty file called hello. So now we do ls, we can see it's there. But there are no contents in this file. So there are many text editors which come inbuilt with Linux. We have the nano text editor. So we type in nano hello and it's going to open up that file and we can type this was written with nano. To exit we can press Ctrl X. It's going to ask save modified buffer, yeah, Y and enter. And the contents are saved to hello. There is also another editor called VI and VIM. So with VI we can type in VI hello and this is going to tell us the same. Okay, so I'm not very familiar with this VI editor and I will have to close the terminal. I'm going to close that terminal because I do not even know how to quit out of VI because I only use nano most of the time. So we undo ls, the hello file is there, but how do we list its contents? We want to see its contents. Then we have the cat command. So what it's going to do, it's going to read that file and output whatever was inside that file. So we had written, this was written with nano. We do cat hello, same thing on the screen. Then we have the grep command. So what does grep do? Suppose we want to search for the word was or nano. So I'll type grep nano in hello. It's red in color. So what I just do, grep, what it does is that it grabs certain pieces of text inside a file or any other stream of text. So we told it to go inside the hello file and search for the text named nano or for text nano. Let's open the file again and type in something else. Now let's cat that file. This was written with nano and something else. So we can again grep nano hello. So we only get the first line, or we only get the line which contains nano. What if we grep else? So we only get the second line. So it will only give us the lines which have the else word in it. Now notice that extensions are not required in Linux. Any file can be executed, read or written. On Windows, only .exe files can be executed by double clicking on them. You can you can execute any file when you have the executable permission. Okay, so we will look at some other commands later on also when we start working, when writing programs and other things. But for now, we will look at some more important things. Pipes. First, we will look at pipes. So, what are pipes? So, first we cat hello. Okay, so we have a file. Now, suppose we want to send this output to grep command and we want to tell it to grab nano. This does the same thing. Instead of typing grab nano hello, this also does the same thing. So, what grep nano hello does is that it understands that I have to look for the word nano inside the file hello. So if you only type grep nano, it will say that okay, I am waiting for your input. We will first give it input. Okay, so I'm going to give it input, and whenever it sees the word nano, it will make it red. So what I did was I did cat hello. So this output was print to the screen. Then I I wrote a pipe operator. So this is located above the enter command where generally the backslash is located. You press shift with that. And what this will do is it will take the output of this command and pipe it as input to the next command. So I say grep nano. So what it will do is it will take these contents, write them over here, and then tell grep to grab the nano over here. So that was pipes. You can have as many pipes as you like. You can pipe the output of one command to the next, and then we have something even more interesting. So I have the contents of hello. What if I want to copy this file to the desktop? I can use the cp command, which stands for copy to the desktop. Simple, but we forgot to specify the file we want to copy. So cp hello to desktop. And if we go to the desktop, We can see the file is over here. We can double click on it and it's done. What about the move command? So suppose we want to move this hello file to the desktop, but with something else, the name as something else. So we can type in mv hello desktop slash the file name abc. Let's go back to the desktop. ABC, same contents. Now we want to get rid of this hello file. rm stands for remove the file name. Hello, no such file or directory. Why? Because I moved the file. So I will make the file again, and this time it's there and we are going to remove it, and it got deleted. Similarly, we have the rmdir command which deletes only empty directories. To delete directories which contain something in them, you will have to first delete the files inside that directory and then you will be able to do rmdir. To make directories, we have the make dir or mkdir. So let's make a directory called anything. We can cd into anything ls, that's nothing over here. We can now remove this directory. So there is this anything directory. We can do rmdir anything. We do ls and that directory is vanished. Now let's go to redirection. So suppose I have some text over here using the echo command. Now I want to write this into a file. I can use nano copy paste this, but an even better way is to use text redirection. So this greater than sign and then a file name. Suppose file name hello again, cat hello. How was that? So let's try something else written over here. Cat hello. So what it does is it redirects standard output to a file. So now there are three streams. We have standard input with which programs take input from us. We have standard output to which commands like echo and cat print, and then we have standard error. So if a command fail, it writes to the standard error. For example, if we cat 123, no such file or directory. What if I want to redirect the output of cat to a file called abc? ls, there's a file called abc. Cat abc, nothing inside there. But we do got this output because this was not returned to the standard output. It was returned to the standard error because errors and output are very different. So what if I want to redirect error to some other file and output to some other file? So I can type this out. So it will cat the file and any output is there, it will write to out. And what I can type is 2 greater than sign. So there are file descriptors for standard input, standard output, and standard error. 0 stands for standard input, 1 stands for standard output, and 2 stands for standard error. So we are going to tell it to redirect all standard error into errors. So this time we got no error printed. We can do ls. We have error file. We can cat error, and we got that same error because that file does not exist, and this time instead of printing it to the screen, it was written to this error file. But what about out? Since there was no output, nothing was written to that file. Now what about input? So again we'll have grep nano or grep else. Inside what? We'll specify it So what happened? So whenever you type grep else, so it will wait for you to write in the standard input. So standard input can be redirected with a less than sign. So you tell it that uh, run the grep command with and search for else, and whenever it's going to ask us for the standard input, send the contents of the hello file, and that's what it does. So this is exactly same if you do cat hello, pipe it to grep and do else, or you do grep else hello, same thing differently done, because these are needed to do when you cannot create pipes or when you do not have permission to do something, and in such cases. So the less than sign allows us to redirect standard input, the greater than sign allows us to redirect standard output, and the two greater than sign allows us to redirect standard error. But let's assume we have this cat1234 and we redirect all output, all standard output to this directory called out, and we want that all the errors also go into the same place. So for that we can say redirect all errors ampersand 1. So what this will do is it will say cat this file, any output you have send it to this out file, and any error you have send it to the same place where you are going to send the standard output. So we can now cat out, and it has all the error also. So this does the same thing. Instead of writing cat 1234, pipe it to out, any error, pipe it to out. You can what you can do is tell it to pipe it to the same place where you are going to pipe the standard output. So these are very complicated topics. Try to practice them, and then we will look at some even more detailed tutorials on other commands, and then in the next video we are going to look at nmap. Thank you.